Yo, I hope your Arkansas trip is going well. I'm putting this in video format because it's easier for me to explain, and I think it's important to visualize what's going on with your muscles. So with the tightness you've been having in your jaw, it took me a while to figure out what was causing it for myself, but once I did, I realized it wasn't just fully my jaw. It was kind of all connected, and that's why I'm sending you this video instead of just explaining it, because I think that, seeing the difference makes a lot of difference when you're stretching. It's like a mind-muscle connection, which I know isn't very important in lifting, but it's also important in stretching. And you have to know what you're stretching and how you're stretching it. Otherwise, it's just kind of like going through the motions and it doesn't actually help. So I like to think about Avatar: The Last Airbender episode where Aang is at the air temple with the guru and he's learning about the chakras. And it's kind of like the flowing river. You can't just unblock one area that you want to unblock. You really have to start with one area and let it flow to the next area and go to the next area. So with that in mind, I always start with the trunk and the lower body and work my way up, because the biggest muscles in our body are our legs. If something's too tight or misaligned down there, it's gonna pull on everything above it: your back, your shoulders, neck, and eventually your jaw. So even if you stretch your neck every day, if the root issue isn't fixed, the tightness might keep coming back. So there's 3 stretches that I do every day. These aren't the only ones we're gonna go over today, but they're my core stretches. These are my daily go-to because I tend to get really tight in my glutes, hips, lower back, and trunk. And no matter what muscle group I'm training that day, I do these afterwards to loosen things up before I stretch other parts of my body. So the first one is gonna be the figure 4 stretch. You're going to sit in a chair or something slightly elevated. You're gonna cross one leg over the other so that your ankle rests on the opposite knee. And you're gonna gently push down on that elevated knee while leaning forward into the stretch. This should stretch the gluteus medius and piriformis, which wraps around your hip and attaches to your lower back, which is your lumbar spine. If these areas are tight, they could pull in your lower back, which will make everything else up your spine tighten up. So this one is what I do first, and it can be tough at the beginning because, at least for me, this muscle is very tight. So just lean into it and ease into it and hold it for a minute each side. Next is gonna be an elevated pigeon pose, and this one's for our glutes, hip flexors, and lower back. So find a flat and elevated surface. I'm using a chair because it's all I have at work. A low bench works really well, or a couch. You're going to put one leg up so the shin is resting on top of the surface in a pigeon pose. Then you're gonna let gravity pull you down into the stretch rather than actively pushing forward. If you're too tight, just lean into it like I showed you last time. But if you've gained more mobility, what you can do is you can reach your left arm under your body if your right leg is up, and vice versa. And you're gonna hold that for about a minute. And then if you wanna get even deeper into it with that left arm extended underneath your right side of your body, you can take your right arm and reach over your head parallel with your leg, and this will really stretch your lower back and obliques. This one's can be really intense, but it's crucial because it connects the glutes, lower back, and obliques, all of which pull on the muscles underneath your shoulder blades. So this brings us to the last one that I do every day, and that's gonna be the wall hip flexor stretch. So with one knee against the wall and with your shin and foot flat against the wall, you're gonna make your front leg form an L shape with your foot flat on the floor. And so most people lean into this one, instead of leaning into it, focus on driving your back knee down into the ground and making your thigh form a straight line with your abdomen area. So the goal of this is to align the thigh and trunk, not just to push forward. So you'll feel this deep in the hip flexors and lower abs, which are usually tight without us even realizing it. So this one form is really, really important. So next, we're gonna work on mobilizing the spine. So now that our lower body's opened up, the next part that gets really tight is the muscles underneath your shoulder blades, which are the serratus anterior and your lower traps. This tightness pulls on your traps and neck, which eventually leads to that tightness in your jaw. So this one's gonna be the cat-cow, which is gonna be a spinal mobility and shoulder blade release. Now, this one is really awkward to do at first. It kind of just takes time getting used to it. You kind of feel goofy when you do it. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna get on all fours with your knees and hands directly under your shoulders and hips. You're gonna start by arching your back all the way up like a cat and really pushing your spine towards the ceiling. You should feel this one a lot in that trap area. Then you're gonna drop your belly and lift your chest, sinking into this cow position. Hold each position for 2 to 3 seconds and repeat that for 3 sets of 10 reps. This should free up the spine, lower traps, and scapula, making it much easier to stretch the neck and traps afterwards. So this is what I would say could be the final stretch. I'll have one more after this that's optional, but this is gonna be for releasing the neck and traps. And this is the neck side flexion and rotation stretch. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna tilt your ear towards your shoulder. You're gonna rotate your chin towards your armpit, where you should be looking into your armpit. You're gonna use the hand on the same side you're looking, left hand if it's left, right hand if it's right, to gently pull your head deeper into the stretch. Your opposite hand, so if you're pulling with your left hand, should be placed behind your lower back, resting near the center of your glutes. This unlocks the traps so that you can get a full stretch. And what's really important before starting it is take a deep inhale and then hold that area and hold the stretch at the top of the inhale, because if you've rolled shoulders, it's not gonna get you that much of a stretch. So this targets the upper traps, the levitator scapula, and the SCM, which all connect to your jaw. So if these are tight, they'll pull on your jaw, which will cause tension there. So an optional, and this one is kind of like the final one that will actually target your jaw. But another optional one is the chest opener stretch. So those are the stretches that I do daily to unlock, jaw tightness, but there's one more that I like to do most days if I have time, but not every day, so you can add it if you want to. This one opens up the pectoral major and minor, which releases tension in the front of the shoulders and underneath the shoulder blade, because the pecs can pull your shoulders forward. So what you'll do is you'll stand next to a wall. If you're stretching the left side, you'll place your left hand against the wall at shoulder height. You'll step your right foot forward slightly and your left foot back slightly, and then you'll push your chest and torso away from the arm on the wall. And so that arm is going to be up against the wall, not moving. You're gonna get it flat against the wall. You'll hold that for 45 seconds and repeat 3 times on each side. This stretch really helps open up the chest, which indirectly reduces strain on your shoulders, neck, and jaw. And it's something that I like to do most days, but it's not as crucial as the others. So I think the reason your jaw feels tight is probably because of the tension in your neck and traps, but that tightness is caused by tight shoulder blades, which are pulled on by your lower back, which is pulled on by your glutes. That's why I go through the full chain before hitting the jaw directly. So if you just stretch your neck, you're kind of only just treating the symptom, not the cause. So let me know if any of these feel off for you, but since we're the same, this should work the same way for you that it does for me. So let me know how it goes.